Go love your own enemies, don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them, I want to destroy them.
Child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
So I found out that somebody has committed suicide because of the imminent repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Somebody has killed themselves rather than face a very grim and scary future where they don't have any relief for whatever medical problem they had. No relief, no treatment, no doctor's appointments, no medication, no hope for recovery. I don't know the exact situation. I just know that somebody killed themselves because they couldn't bear the future without any help or any way to get help or to afford help. So the act of electing Donald Trump has cost one person their life, and I don't doubt that there will be more people who opt to kill themselves rather than face the slow, torturous death that awaits them because they cannot afford health care. And they cannot afford to renew their medication. Every time somebody commits suicide because they are losing their way to get help for themselves, Trump is guilty. That's on Trump's head. And that's on the shoulders of every single person who voted for that piece of shit. I have a friend who has congestive heart failure, and she's 70 years old. She has to take care of her husband, whom she loves very much, who has Alzheimer's and dementia. And my friend, congestive heart failure is a obviously very serious illness. She pays $200 a month premium for her plan with the Affordable Care Act. Because of the Affordable Care Act, she's able to afford insurance, which allows her to only have to pay, I think it's like $50 deductible for her medication that she has to get for herself and for her husband. When the Affordable Care Act gets nixed, her premium for health care will go up to something close to $2,000 a month. The medication that her husband is on, I believe, is going to be something like $500 for every time she needs a refill. She's not going to be able to afford that. Nor is she going to be able to afford the medication she needs for herself. Her husband is depending on her to take care of him. She's not able to take care of him if she's too sick. So she's depending on her health care to keep herself healthy so she can take care of her husband. The Affordable Care Act goes away. She loses her ability to take care of herself. She loses her ability to take care of her husband. And these wonderful people that I'm very fond of are likely going to die sooner than they otherwise would have. And that's only one case. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to die a lot sooner than they otherwise would have, because they are going to lose their insurance. Because the first thing that he is going to do, and he's all excited about it, is he's going to repeal the Affordable Care Act without even a flicker of a thought to all the lives that are going to be horribly impacted by this action, without a concern for the hardship this is going to bring down upon so many people, millions of people. Rather than be responsible and go, you know, people depend on healthcare to survive. People depend on medication and treatment to survive. So I'm going to fix the Affordable Care Act. We're going to make it better. Yeah, better. You know, we're going to make it great. Like he says, we're going to make America great again. Well, maybe we should start that out with making the Affordable Care Act better, not just get rid of it. Oh, but you know, if you don't think you can fix it, then you know what you do? You let it sit there. Maybe you tweak it a little bit to try to make it at least a little better, and then you set aside some time and you plan a better one. You make a better Affordable Care Act. You make one that is what you think it should be. And then you gradually phase out the old Affordable Care Act and phase in the new one in such a way that people, millions of people, are not going to suffer and face hardship and possibly die. That's what you do. You don't just cut it off for millions of people and not replace it. You keep it around until you have a better alternative, and then you phase the old one out and put the new one in, and there is nobody who is suffering. But no, that's not Donald Trump's way, because Donald Trump doesn't really have any plans. He said he had lots of great plans, but he really doesn't. And he doesn't care about little people. Little people who are not beautiful or they're not rich. He doesn't care about ordinary people. He tells it like it is. That's bullshit. He really doesn't care. He has no empathy. He doesn't relate to people who have to work for money and to survive. He doesn't know what it's like to go a day without food or a day without electricity. He doesn't understand what it's like to not be able to get whatever health care you need whenever you need it. And medication as much as you want whenever you need it. He doesn't have any understanding of what it's like to be my friend who needs to pay $500 for a little thing of medication if she doesn't have insurance. People are going to die prematurely because he's going to pull the rug out from under them and not fucking care about who suffers because of it. And the fact that older people are going to die, if that doesn't hurt you, if that doesn't bother you, if that doesn't affect you in any way, there's parents out there who can't afford to care for their children with catastrophic illnesses, cancer, or, I mean, there's a whole slew of horrible illnesses that children get too. And they can't afford to care for them, so they're on the Affordable Care Act so that they can care for their children. Trump gets rid of the Affordable Care Act, there's going to be children too who are unable to be treated anymore for whatever thing that they have. They're going to be suffering now because their parents can't afford their medication or their chemotherapy or their radiation therapy. And is Trump really going to care? For every one of those children that is going to suffer, for everyone like my friend who is going to die prematurely, or her husband, I blame the people who voted for Donald Trump. And I blame Donald Trump for every single death that is going to happen because of his callous stroke of the pen when he signs his name to repeal the Affordable Care Act without first bothering to come up with a replacement. If somebody is in the ocean holding onto a life preserver, and you think that life preserver isn't doing a good job, you throw them a better one before you jerk the one that they had away from them. You don't just jerk the life preserver that they have, even if it isn't doing a very good job. You don't jerk it away from them until you give them another one that works better. You jerk the first one away from them without giving them a replacement. What happens to them? They drown. And that's exactly what Trump is going to do to millions of people. They're going to drown. And Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care about human life in general. He really doesn't care. Any man who can sit there and go, why can't we use our nuclear weapons? Any man who can sit there and say, we're going to bring back waterboarding and more. And we're going to kill their families too. does not care for human life and does not value human life. And speaking of valuing human life, I found out that the young woman who once again brought up the charge of rape against this man has dropped those charges, and I hear that she received some very horrible death threats that scared her into dropping those charges against this man. So I see he's going to be the president now, so he's above the law, and he can get away with issuing death threats to a young woman, and he can get away with rape. And he's given a pardon for such things as sexual harassment and sexual abuse. These things are the kind of things that damage people for the rest of their lives. But, oh, it's not a big deal because Trump did it. Speaking of Trump and the things that he does, that he gets passes for, people seem to forget that it wasn't that long ago that Trump was declaring himself a Democrat. And it wasn't really that long ago that Trump was praising Hillary Clinton for being a wonderful woman, a very nice woman, a very smart woman, and a very good leader.
Do you identify more as a Democrat or a Republican?
Well, you'd be shocked if I said that in many cases I probably identify more as a Democrat. And I think you'd probably be shocked.
On social issues?
You know, it's interesting. I've been now around long. You know, I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, I mean, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats
well,
than the
Republicans. It certainly did well under Clinton.
Well,
but I wouldn't suggest it was so great under Jimmy Carter.
That's true. That's
if
true.
you remember
That's
the interest rates.
No, I know. It's Jimmy Carter was not in the same thing, but certainly we had some very good economies under Democrats as well as Republicans. But we've had some pretty bad disaster under the Republicans.
Who would you like representing the United States in a deal with Iran, with this regime there?
Well, I think you have different people. I think Rudy would do a very good job. He'd be very much more militant. I think Hillary would have. Hillary's always surrounded herself with very good people. I think Hillary would do a good job. I think Mitt Romney would be very good. I think different people, for different reasons, could do the job. But the key is they have to get the right people to negotiate. I mean, we have a bunch of third-rate people doing our negotiating for us. We have diplomats that nobody ever heard of, and they're not negotiators.
Well, you have Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice today. She rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange at 9:30 this morning.
Give me a break. You think she's a negotiator? She's a wonderful woman, a lovely woman. I tell the story. She waves. She waves. Hello, hello, hello. Has she made one deal? What has she done? Has she done one thing since she's been in that position? Not one. So it's very, very sad. The whole thing with Condoleezza Rice is very sad. Well, I think her history is far from being over. I'd like to answer that question in another 15 years from now. I think she's going to go down at a minimum as a great senator. I think she is a great wife to a president. And I think Bill Clinton was a great president. You know, you look at the country then. The economy was doing great. Look at what happened during the Clinton years. I mean, we had no war. The economy was doing great. Everybody was happy. A lot of people hated him because they were jealous as hell. You know, people get jealous and they hate you. People don't like him because they're jealous of him. But Bill Clinton was a great president. I mean, I hope we can be so lucky in terms of the economy and in terms of other aspects. I mean, we weren't in wars with two nations. I'm not blaming Afghanistan, by the way, is probably a place that we should be. Iraq, we shouldn't be, and we should have never been. You know, Iraq is interesting because in Iraq, Saddam Hussein used to kill terrorists. He used to kill terrorists. Now Iraq is the breeding ground for terrorists. That's where everyone goes. You know, like some people go to Harvard, some people go to the Wharton School of Finance. If you're a terrorist, you go to Iraq. So, you know, we just made some bad decisions. Bill Clinton was a great president. Hillary Clinton is a great woman and a good woman.
You said of Hillary Clinton that she was, quote, pretty badly abused during her presidential campaign. Why do you say that?
I thought that they roughed her up pretty good. I think she's a wonderful woman. I think that she's a little bit misunderstood. You know, Hillary's a very smart woman, very tough woman. That's fine. But she's also a very nice person. And I know Hillary, and I know her husband very well. They're fine people. I thought, and you know, part of that is a rough political battle. I thought she was roughed up. I thought she, and I'm not knocking the other side. You know, you want to win a battle, so if it gets a little bit nasty, it is politics, and politics is a tough game. But I thought she was perhaps unnecessarily roughed up. She took some pretty hard hits, to my opinion.
Yeah, Trump the chameleon. He was that then, now he's a Republican. He wasn't a Christian, now he is a Christian. Whatever is convenient for him to help him meet his ends or achieve his ends, that's what he does. And now today I saw on AOL, he's sitting with President Obama and he's saying what an honor it is to be with the president, that he just spent months ridiculing and criticizing and calling the worst president ever and saying that he has horrible judgment. Oh, but now it's an honor for him to sit with President Obama. The man is phony. The man is fake. He's a charlatan. And the harm that he's going to cause people, that's what makes me the most angry, is when I think of the harm he is going to cause individual, real, live people. It just breaks my heart. And every time I hear of a suicide, every time I hear that somebody has died because they can't get care, I'm going to blame him. I'm going to blame the people that voted for him. And I'm going to blame Christianity for promoting him. Christianity promoted him. It's funny, if Hillary Clinton had cheated on her husband with a married man, imagine the hell she would have gotten for that. Imagine what the church would have said about her. But Donald Trump cheated on his wife, went after a married woman. He didn't get her, according to his little clip where he's bragging about sexually assaulting her. He didn't get her, but he went after her. Knowing that she was married, he went after her. The church is okay with that. Perfectly okay with that. No problem. Not, you know, it's beyond the fact that he bragged about sexually assaulting this woman, or in general sexually assaulting women, because he's powerful and he's a star and he can do whatever he wants. Beyond the fact that he bragged about that, he's also bragging about the fact that he went after a married woman while he was married, and the church has still promoted him and said, "Hey, vote for him." He's a good thing, that he's a good Christian man. He brags about walking into a room full of children to ogle them. Well, I own the pageant, so I have the extra perk of getting to walk in on teenage girls and look at their sexy young bodies. You know, any other older man who ogled children would be called a pervert and a pedophile, and he would be reviled for it. But Trump, that's okay, and the church is, oh, that's okay. In fact, I've even had people on Facebook say, well, you know, you can't hold it against him what he did a long time ago. That was a long time ago. You know, you're holding something against him that he did 20 years ago. Yeah, and you're holding Hillary Clinton against Hillary Clinton for things that happened a long time ago. Every single thing that she did, every single mistake, every single whatever she did in her entire lifetime, you're holding against her. Oh, but Trump, oh, don't hold it against him. He was a younger man, you know. What a double standard that has existed in this election and this whole process. Hillary Clinton raked over the coals for every single thing that she did or did not do, but maybe she did. You know, there's the chance that she did it, and they really need to investigate a lot more than they did. But Donald Trump gets a pass. Donald Trump, he creates a university pretty much for the purpose of scamming people out of their money, building dreams and scamming people from their money. He has contracts with small business owners to provide services for him, probably even knowing ahead of time that he's going to say, after they rendered their services for him, well, you know, I'm not going to pay you what we agreed upon. I'm going to pay you less. Basically, he committed theft against small business owners. But that's okay. Don't hold it against him. That was a long time ago. And people walk around thinking that this man relates to the poor and the middle class and the working person, that he can relate to them and that he is on their side, the champion of them. He's going to get them jobs. This man who's sending jobs overseas is going to care about bringing in new jobs, which he says he's going to do, but does he ever mention the plan that he has in mind to create these new jobs? Or is he going to bring back fossil fuel? Yeah, let's go back to having polluting the planet again. That'll create new jobs, make a whole bunch of new jobs that continue to pollute the planet, because global warming is a myth. Yeah. Anyway, I'm starting to just ramble. This is a video. I just felt like I heard about the suicide. I heard that this woman dropped the charges of rape again because he once again issued some pretty horrifying death threats to her and her family too, most likely. And it got me angry, and I felt like making another video. On Facebook, everyone's saying, oh, you need to accept this man. You just need to accept that he's the president. You know what? I don't, and I never will. I refuse to accept a sex predator and a con artist and a thief and a pedophile and a peeping Tom and a pervert and a liar, a chronic liar, and a man who has no conscience because he clearly has antisocial personality disorder. I refuse to accept him as my president. He is unacceptable. He is repulsive and offensive and unacceptable. I had a brother beat me up when I was young, physically abused me, who had the same walk, the same talk, the same way of talking, the same expressions as Donald Trump. My brother the bully, who went to jail at one point for beating on his wife. Donald Trump has those same mannerisms and creates triggers for me whenever I see his face and whenever I hear his voice. And I'm not the only one that has that reaction to the sight and sound of him. He looks like what he is, an abuser and a bully. And I now have to put up with the sight and sound of him for the next 4 years. And no, I don't accept him. He is not my president. And he never will be.